Hi, my name is Rob Lauer. Welcome to this episode of Battlefield America. Today we're going to be talking about the election of the new Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, and we're here with our Vegas lawyer star, Ayesha, who just came back from Pakistan. Her family's from Pakistan, and we're not going to talk about the Mueller case. We're not talking about Russian meddling. We're talking about something else, something that's more important in the world, about our relationships with countries like Pakistan, which, by the way, is on the border of Afghanistan, where we still have American troops fighting the Taliban. There's still Taliban in Pakistan. So this is a very critical part of the world for the United States of America. We still have Americans over there, frankly, dying every year, fighting right now in the Afghanistan. So let's talk about this new Prime Minister. What do we know about him?
Well, we can start with the fact that he's actually a celebrity turned politician.
So he's kind of like a Trump of Pakistan.
Yes, they are comparing him to Trump in a lot of ways because he's also anti-establishment and he started his own political party and today now he's the Prime Minister 22 years later.
And you mentioned he actually was educated in England, in Oxford.
Yeah.
So he's Western European educated. Is he supported by the military? Does he support the military? Is there an issue there as far as you know?
Well, with the military, I'm sure he's supportive of the military as he should be.
But if he's anti-establishment, do they see him as a threat to their little power in Pakistan?
The military?
Yeah. There's always a threat there.
That's correct, but I don't think so. I think they're allowing Pakistan to finally experience democracy and just kind of step back from the governing side of things, because we've had martial law for a long time. So
you just came back from there.
Yeah.
You were there for a few weeks, I believe,
yes.
Seeing your family.
Mm-hmm.
What was the security like? Did you feel many security issues? What was that like there?
I am from Lahore, Pakistan, which has a lot. The government is established essentially in Lahore, and then Islamabad is our capital. So security is not an issue in my city.
And just so people understand, in Pakistan right now, women are not required to wear habibs. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So you could walk around like you are today in Pakistan without the fear that you might have in other parts of the world there.
That's correct. Yes.
And so, does the Taliban still have a presence in Pakistan? Are they still a threat? What are the relations with the U.S. and Pakistan and this new Prime Minister?
Well, first of all, are they a threat and are they in Pakistan? That's correct. They still are there. And obviously they are a threat. They're on the Afghan-Pakistan border. That's where their hub is.
What's he going to do about them? He's going to work with the United States to continue to root them out. Let's remind the audience that bin Laden was killed in Pakistan, not in Afghanistan. It was an American raid of SEALs that went across the border into Pakistan without the Prime Minister or the government's approval and captured and killed bin Laden. Mm-hmm. So can we expect to work with this new Prime Minister? What's your feelings about that?
He gave a statement that he is willing to work with the U.S., so I don't think that he would go anti-U.S. I don't think it's in the best interest of Pakistan to do that. So.
But you mentioned to me earlier that the Prime Minister is exploring or campaigned on open borders with Afghanistan.
Yes, he didn't make that statement.
And so that's not a good thing for American troops in Afghanistan to have open borders where we're fighting Taliban who can rush across the Pakistan border, do hits on American troops and run them back across, and we can't chase them back. I mean, that's a real threat to American troops, isn't it?
I agree. So, and I'm not sure about this open borders policy, but
and open borders, it's a mutual open border, right? So
yeah.
If American troops and Afghani troops on the other side of the border say, no, it's not open, we're putting troops there, mm-hmm. it creates a political and military crisis between Afghanistan, the U.S., and Pakistan potentially, doesn't it?
It does, but I have no choice but to be hopeful that he will be smart, and maybe if he's made that statement, then let's see how much of it does he achieve, similar to, for example, the Health Care Act here for President Trump. He tried his best, but the system kind of came into play as well. So
I want to hear more about this Prime Minister Khan and his background and what are the policies that he's been advocating for, the religious freedoms or less freedoms. Where does he stand on all those issues?
He's, I would call him like a wild card because his immediate, like right now, his policy was more religious. However, he has a very colorful background. He was known to be a playboy. He's our cricket star and a philanthropist, and he married, a socialite from the UK, Jemima Khan. So,
are they still married, or?
No, they divorced actually, because he just made a commitment to come back to Pakistan and get into politics, and I think that was the main reason that eventually.
Did he remarry? Is he remarrying a more conservative woman?
Well, he remarried twice after that, and he kind of transitioned. So from Jemima.
Just like Trump, right?
Yes. So they are very.
He likes his women.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, but it's interesting that the current wife is extremely more religious than I would like her to be. But
is that something he has to do to sew up the more conservative elements within Pakistan?
Yeah, and then I think so. The interesting thing with this is that when I was in Pakistan, there was the average person when I would ask them who they're rooting for. So the ones that were against him were saying that if he comes into power, he's going to make Lahore like Paris, and in the sense that it's going to be more westernized. And that was really interesting to me because I would have thought that he's been talking about his religious views in ways that are disturbing sometimes to me personally, but people still have the perception because of his past that he may be doing this just for the votes. And
what is life like in that city? Is it more conservative? Is it commercialized? What is it like?
It's a blend of all.
Really?
Is the best way to put it. And
they all get along. There's no pressure, there's no conflict, there's no stress between the more conservative elements within the country there and the more Western pro-democracy elements. Is there pressure or stress there?
There is pressure and stress because there are two extremes sometimes in our country as well, very liberal folks and extremely conservative folks. Another issue with us is that the people who are very rich and in power, they're the ones who are very westernized as well. So essentially the masses can't really reach to them yet. So even if there is disturbances.
Those people want to make money, they want to develop the country and make money.
Yes.
And so that's where the fear comes in. Still having the elements of the religious groups along with terrorists, let's just call them what they are, living in the country, protected by the Pakistani governments and intelligence services, the Taliban, doesn't that pose a threat to security and peace and stability in Pakistan long term?
Well, if they
How big of an element are they in the country? That's I guess the main question.
I don't think they have such a stronghold in the country. The majority of the people are quite moderate in their thinking, but I disagree with the Pakistani government or the military supporting the Taliban in any way. But if they do, then yes, that's a serious threat to not just American troops, but the Pakistani people themselves.
But the real risk is one suicide bomber going into a westernized hotel in Pakistan kills a lot of investment in the country, scares away investors, scares away Western businesses, scares people that are moderate in the country from embracing that in democracy, right? I mean, there's a threat. One suicide bomber can change the dynamic politically.
That's very correct. In Pakistan now, because of the security threats, like all these five-star hotels where you would expect foreigners to come, or they have high security like airports. So that's one thing that they're doing there. But your statement is ringing so true in the sense that even the Prime Minister has said that Pakistanis, overseas Pakistanis like myself, we're not ready to invest in Pakistan. So we can't even talk about other countries and other people.
Right.
So the goal, I believe, for this new government is that economically we're stronger, and he started with overseas Pakistanis that these people should invest in their own country.
So in order to get people like yourself and other American and European corporations and Chinese companies to invest in Pakistan, they need to get their security in order.
Yes.
Because there's always that underlying threat that tomorrow there's going to be a suicide bomber,
Yes.
that there's going to be a military coup. That's been the history there. So how do you create that long-term stability when you have these factions historically fighting and competing violently for power?
I agree, and he has a huge task in front of him. But this is recognized by the majority of the people, including the Prime Minister, that security needs to be the number one issue, and then investment for the country.
It's security, but it's also political stability
I
with
agree.
regard to the military, and not having another coup come that we've seen in the past.
Yes, that's always been a threat, but so far it seems like the military is realizing that it doesn't need to get into all this, but we'll see.
Well, it's been a very fascinating discussion. Thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you're back. Are you going back soon?
Next year, I hope so.
So you go back once a year.
Yes.
Well, we'll talk to you then again about this.
Thank you.
If anything else comes up in the news, I'd love to have you back on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
This is Rob Lauer. Thanks for watching this episode of Battlefield America.